Google says.
Design, pronounced as design. Noun, first definition, a plan or drawing produced to show the look and function or workings of building, garment, or other object before it is made. Example, he has just unveiled his design for the new museum. Second definition, a decorative pattern. Example, pottery with lovely blue and white design. Decide upon the look and functioning of a building, garment, or other object, by making a detailed drawing of it. Example, a number of architectural students were designing a factory.
Design is intelligence made visible.
Every great design begins with an even better story.
Design is not just what it looks like and feels like. Design is how it works.
Design is a formal response to a strategic question.
Fashion design is the art of applying design, aesthetics, clothing construction and natural beauty to clothing and its accessories. A fashion designer creates clothing, including dresses, suits, pants, and skirts, and accessories like shoes and handbags, for consumers. He or she can specialize in clothing, accessory, or jewelry design, or may work in more than one of these areas. Costume design is the creation of clothing for the overall appearance of a character or performer. Costume may refer to the style of dress particular to a nation, a class, or a period. In many cases, it may contribute to the fullness of the artistic, visual world which is unique to a particular theatrical or cinematic production. The most basic designs are produced to denote status, provide protection or modesty, or provide visual interest to a character. Costumes may be for a theater, cinema, or musical performance but may not be limited to such. Costume design should not be confused with costume coordination, which merely involves altering existing clothing, although both create stage clothes. 4 types of costumes are used in theatrical design: historical, fantastical, dance, and modern. Textile geometry is the creative and technical process by which thread or yarn fibers are woven together or interlaced to form a flexible, functional, and decorative cloth or fabric which is subsequently printed upon or otherwise adorned. Textile design is further broken down into 3 major disciplines: printed textile design, woven textile design, and mixed media textile design, each of which utilize different methods to produce a surface-ornamented fabric for variable uses and markets. Architecture is both the process and the product of planning, designing, and constructing buildings or other structures. Architectural works, in the material form of buildings, are often perceived as cultural symbols and as works of art. Historical civilizations are often identified with their surviving architectural achievements. Interior design is the art and science of enhancing the interior of a building to achieve a healthier and more aesthetically pleasing environment for the people using the space. An interior designer is someone who plans, researches, coordinates, and manages such enhancement projects. Interior design is a multifaceted profession that includes conceptual development, space planning, site inspections, programming, and research, communicating with the stakeholders of a project, construction management, and execution of the design. Landscape design or architecture is the design of outdoor public areas, landmarks, and structures to achieve environmental, social, behavioral, or aesthetic outcomes. It involves the systematic investigation of existing social, ecological, and soil conditions and processes in the landscape, and the design of interventions that will produce the desired outcome. The scope of the profession includes landscape design, site planning, environmental restoration, parks and recreation planning, visual resource management, green infrastructure planning and provision, and private estate and residence landscape, master planning and design, all at varying scales of design, planning and management. A practitioner in the profession of landscape architecture is called a landscape architect. Movable objects intended to support various human activities such as seating, eating and sleeping. Graphic design is the profession and academic discipline whose activity consists in projecting visual communications intended to transmit specific messages to social groups, with specific objectives. As opposed to art, whose aim is merely contemplation, design is based on the principle of form follows a specific function. User interface (UI) design or user interface engineering is the design of user interfaces for machines and software, such as computers, home appliances, mobile devices, and other electronic devices, with the focus on maximizing usability and the user experience. The goal of user interface design is to make the user's interaction as simple and efficient as possible, in terms of accomplishing user goals, user-centered design. User Experience Design (UXD, UED, or XD) is the process of supporting user behavior through usability, usefulness, and desirability provided in the interaction with the product. User Experience Design encompasses traditional human-computer interaction (HCI) design and extends it by addressing all aspects of a product or service as perceived by users. Experience design is not driven by a single design discipline. Instead, it requires a cross-discipline perspective that considers multiple aspects of the brand, business, environment and experience from product, packaging, and retail environment to the clothing and attitude of employees. Experience design seeks to develop the experience of a product, service, or event along any or all of the following dimensions. Game design is the art of applying design and aesthetics to create a game for entertainment or for educational, exercise, or experimental purposes. Increasingly, elements and principles of game design are also applied to other interactions, in the form of gamification. Game designer and developer Robert Zubek defines game design by breaking it down into its elements, which he says are the following: gameplay, which is the interaction between the player and the mechanics and systems, which are the rules and objects in the game; player experience, which is how users feel when they're playing the game. Scenic design, also known as scenography, stage design, or set design, is the creation of theatrical, as well as film or television scenery. Scenic designers design sets and scenery that aim to support the overall artistic goals of the production. There has been a consideration that scenic design is also production design, however, more accurately, it is a part of the visual production of a film or television. In theater, a lighting designer, or LD, works with the director, choreographer, set designer, costume designer, and sound designer to create the lighting, atmosphere, and time of day for the production in response to the text, while keeping in mind issues of visibility, safety, and cost. The LD also works closely with the stage manager or show control programming, if show control systems are used in that production. Sound design is the art and practice of creating soundtracks for a variety of needs. It involves specifying, acquiring or creating auditory elements using audio production techniques and tools. It is employed in a variety of disciplines including filmmaking, television production, video game development, theater, sound recording and reproduction, live performance, sound art, post-production, radio and musical instrument development. Industrial design is a process of design applied to physical products that are to be manufactured by mass production. It is the creative act of determining and defining a product's form and features, which takes place in advance of the manufacture or production of the product. In contrast, manufacture consists purely of repeated, often automated, replication, while craft-based design is a process or approach in which the form of the product is determined by the product's creator largely concurrent with the act of its production. The engineering design process is a common series of steps that engineers use in creating functional products and processes. The process is highly iterative. Parts of the process often need to be repeated many times before another can be entered, though the parts that get iterated and the number of such cycles in any given project may vary. It is a decision-making process, often iterative, in which the basic sciences, mathematics, and engineering sciences are applied to convert resources optimally to meet a stated objective. Among the fundamental elements of the design process are the establishment of objectives and criteria, synthesis, analysis, construction, testing and evaluation. Software design is the process by which an agent creates a specification of a software artifact intended to accomplish goals, using a set of primitive components and subject to constraints. Software design may refer to either all the activity involved in conceptualizing, framing, implementing, commissioning, and ultimately modifying complex systems, or the activity following requirement specification and before programming, as, in, a stylized software engineering process. Software design usually involves problem solving and planning a software solution. This includes both a low-level component and algorithm design and a high-level, architecture design.